was so good to see you the other day at that event at the German embassy with the balsa and that. And it was so good to see you, and this is going to be really fun to talk to you about Achacachi and Bolivia. And welcome in the audience. It's a great pleasure, distinct pleasure on my part to welcome to the program Roberto Pinto. And Roberto Pinto we met recently here in New York City, but he hails from and was born in a little village in which I lived for about a year and a half when I was doing research for the doctoral dissertation in the country of Bolivia, in a little village called Achacachi. And we met at an event at one of the embassies here, and I said, yeah, I'd been in Bolivia, and I came from a little town that you probably never would have heard of. It was called Achacachi, and he was born and raised in Achacachi. So we have a great deal to talk about, and it's a pleasure. We may have two other guests coming. They're coming. They may arrive late, and they'll just integrate themselves into the program. They both also are from the country of Bolivia, and we'll be talking about the Aymara and the culture, history of that country. But as for now, we're going to kick it off with Robert and Roberto. Welcome very, very much to Conversations.
Thank you, Harold.
No, it's my pleasure. I such enjoyed talking to you, and I was so surprised that we had knowledge of this village in Bolivia, Achacachi. But could you share your own background? Where you were, I guess I've already let the cat out of the bag, as they say, where you were born and raised. But could you fill us in on where you were born and raised? And then we'll get into a discussion of the country of Bolivia and the nation of the Aymara nation, which has a very rich and long tradition and cultural heritage that we're going to let the people know about here. But could you share your own background, please?
Well, my name is Roberto Pinto. I born in La Paz, a small village, Achacachi.
You were born in Achacachi?
In Achacachi.
In Achacachi?
Exactly, in Achacachi.
Amazing, okay.
And, well, all my parents from Achacachi, except my mother is not. My father is from Achacachi. I born in Achacachi. All my parents live up there. Still live up there.
They do on the Altiplano.
On Altiplano, yeah, exactly. And I come from America a few years ago, and almost 30 years ago, and. It was a pleasure to see you because I don't know.
Right. Who the heck knows Achacachi? Right? Yeah, right. It's just when I was there, Belin was there. There was an agricultural station, and that's where we based ourselves in doing our research on the prehistory of the Bolivian Altiplano, which I could talk some with you about. But anyway, that's how I happen to have been in the town, and I'm very taken with the country. Yeah.
Yeah, because this Belin, like you're talking about, this is that's the place they helped them to Aymara people to increase the economy as regarding to agriculture.
Yeah.
They help them how to grow in papa, experimenting how you grow in papa and in the coal. And the
Andioka,
also,
and the quinoa.
And the quinoa, all this stuff, yes.
Yeah. And not parenthetically, but Achacachi sits in front of a peninsula. If anybody looks at the map of Lake Titicaca, there's a peninsula jutting out into the eastern side of Lake Titicaca toward the south called the Santiago de Huata Peninsula. It's somewhat mountainous, and it's my belief from my research that I did there that it was very likely there that very many thousands of years ago, that the people who were the ancestors to the Aymara people domesticated the papa, create chuño and quinoa, and build the basis of a civilization that was foundational, I believe, to the Andean area. It's a real cultural hearth, the easternmost extension of mankind away from our original roots in Africa, where that process took place. It's an extremely important cultural hearth that is represented at the Lake Titicaca in the country now, the modern-day country of Bolivia, where you were born.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, people up there, they still try to live in by to the one day the ones the ancient people they live up there. Still they keeping all the culture. Still they have the cultural structure and government. Still they do like they doing the ancient people. Well.
We have a flag displayed. I don't know if they can show that, maybe in a two-shot or something. But this is the flag of the Aymara Nation.
Yeah.
This is the flag on the pedestal here, and that's a very ancient flag, representation of that culture going back thousands of years.
Yeah, that's they representing all the people, all the Indian people. They call Wipala.
Wipala.
That's what it is, and. Well, if we gonna talk in the only one right now could you tell you how my livelihood was in Achakachi, how I saw the Aymara people growing and living right now and living before.
Yeah.
We can talk to other ones too.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
And were you raised in Achakachi, or did you go to La Paz?
Yeah.
That would be about what, 40, 50 miles from La Paz to the north, right? Something like that, or
maybe a little bit, approximately, no, maybe 100 miles. Something.
Is it that far? It's been so long since I've been there. I remember we used to ride in, and then I came to know every square inch of that Santiago de Huata Peninsula that faced right out in front of Achakachi. Yeah. But did you go to school as a young boy in Achakachi, or did you go to La Paz, or just a little bit of that?
Well, my first year was on Achakachi because we have a school up there, and also primary and secondary school. And after that, well, I live in the city.
In La Paz?
In La Paz.
Yeah. And you went to university?
Yeah.
And you studied engineering, is that correct?
Yes.
And you took your degree in engineering at La Paz?
La Paz.
And then, as I understand, you've come here since about 1980 or so.
Exactly.
But we have some common friends back in Bolivia that we knew.
Still, we have a lot.
And the political situation in Bolivia, you remember Paz Estensaro?
Yeah.
The Movimiento Nacional Revolucionario.
Exactly.
Right? That was a major movement. A lot of people put it in a class with the revolution that Fidel Castro made, or,
Exactly. That's the first law they make it up. That's the 1950s.
Yeah.
All this the persistence always come in the 1950s. That's the first laws they make it up for the Indian people.
That's right.
Exactly for the Aymara people, all Indian Bolivian people. Because right now there's 60% the people in Bolivia is Indian.
Yes, that's right. Very, very heavy concentration.
Yes. And also the 1950s. We go in a little bit background in the beginning.
Well, I want to go back to the very beginning.
So far, we got to start like time with colonial times, and after the Republican times, all the Indian people, especially Aymara people, was neglected.
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 They had a hard time. All of those Indian peoples had a hard time after Pizarro, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And not only the Indian peoples of Bolivia and South America, but also the Indian peoples of the Americas had a difficult time with the European people in the more modern experience.
Exactly. That's what you're having. But persistence always coming, and because that in the that times, in colonial times and the Republic time.
Yeah.
The Indian, they don't have lands because nothing because they own is Spanish.
Like serfs.
Yes. They forced to work by work in indented work.
Yeah, like serfs on a feudal estate.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like that. Yeah, it was encomienda.
They have pongos.
Yeah,
like a pong because the only one they work is just for something good, but that's it.
Yeah.
They never have like a salary or some pay like
no,
they work.
I know. I have a friend who told me he thought it was worse than slavery, but it was bad. And it's good to note, in a certain sense, in the minds of a lot of people, that we finally, in the country of Bolivia, they have managed to elect an Aymara, Evo Morales, who is now president of Bolivia for the first time. And there's a lot of the world find that very interesting, that finally the Aymara people are represented by the political leader of the country.
Exactly. Because we know that that's why we, again, that's the one you was talking about, the Pictor Pasistensoro. That's the first president. They give you the return of all the lands, original lands that belongs to Indian people, especially Aymara.
The Ayus. That was a very ancient thing. Right.
There's a
community.
And they give you schools. They give you more educations. Also, they created schools, and they training teachers for teaching schools and in the primary and secondary. That's why maybe you know the school we have in Santiago de Huata. The one
in the town.
In the town, they have a school right there. They training teachers for rural schools.
Yes. Out in the peninsula, the little village out there.
Exactly.
They did have,
It's one of the first schools.
I remember,
for teaching, for training teachers for just teach to Indian rural peoples.
Yes, right. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and there are some people. We're talking modern a little bit now and everything, but there are lots of people who study Latin America, and they think of the Mexican, the Cuban, and the Bolivian Revolution of Paz and Sorrow in the same category. That it was a major transformation, had major effect, the same way the Mexican Revolution had in Mexico and the Cuban Revolution had in Cuba. Same in Bolivia. There was a revolutionary stirring that really, as they say, shook things up under Paz and Sorrow.
Yeah.
But there was still a long way to go.
It's still there,
And there still is. Yeah, right. Things don't die out right away.
No, because there's so many things that happen after that, because it takes time to turn the people in because we know that in this time and in the time the Indian people was relegated.
Yes.
Relegated.
Yeah.
And right now now they try to bring with now the new president Evo Morales to the Indian people try to include it in the government, include it in the Bolivian activities, all the culture, all the economy presence.
It takes a long time for change to come to be effect. I think the Catholic Church only let Galileo off the hook about 20 years ago for postulating that the Earth is not the center of the universe, but that we go around the sun. So it takes a few hundred years for things to catch up, and things move slowly. And in that way of thinking, I might just sort of show, I was there doing research for a dissertation on the prehistory of the Bolivian Altiplano. I mentioned it to you here. And that's how I came to know Ponce San Ginés. He was the director of the museum. I guess we had a mutual friend in him and his wife Elena Fortuna and everything. And I was there doing research on the prehistory of the Bolivian Altiplano.
The prehistory from Tiahuanaco civilization.
Prehistory of Tiahuanaco. Many people might be familiar. Tiahuanaco is fairly famous in terms of the broader understanding of the world culture development. It was a civilization based at Lake Titicaca. And maybe we should, for the audience, understand that Lake Titicaca is at between the two Cordillera in the Andes, and the average elevation of the Altiplano is 12,500 feet.
Exactly.
Very high. Very distinct habitat. It's what is called the high highland habitat. And as I mentioned to you before, you had peoples there and who had migrated from our original roots in Africa. All Homo sapiens come from Africa, science is telling us. They may have come across the Beringian or the Bering Straits maybe 12,000 years ago. They postulate. There's some say there were some boats that came in those very early times, but they came into the New World, Clovis Point and that sort of thing, 12 to 15,000 years ago. And then they came down the back of the Americas and ended up almost to the bottom of in Bolivia. And there were people who were hunters, and they were making a living by hunting. And there were the llama and alpaca, which are the famous cameloids that have been domesticated now. But there were wild ancestors, vicuña and so forth. And they were drawn to the highlands because there were wild cameloids that could be hunted there. But they were wandering and gathering. But then they found and discovered the Neolithic revolution, that they could do agriculture and create a way of creating a food surplus that made it possible for civilization to occur. It had happened 3 other times, we say, and it's based on a different food complex. In the West, in Mesopotamia, in Egypt, and in Europe, it was wheat and barley that was domesticated and made possible surplus of food and possible for civilization to develop. You had a mixture in the Indus Valley of what's now Pakistan, but then you had rice and a complex of foods in China or in Asia that made possible civilization and security from the food quest that had been hunting and gathering. Okay. And then you had maize or corn and related
maize
food,
and corn.
Maize and corn in the Mesoamerica, Olmec, and the ancient Mayan civilizations and so on. And there was a 4th major place where this took place, and that was in Lake Titicaca, very near Achacachi, I would submit, is where they discovered that they could domesticate the most important, which was the potato.
Exactly.
Or the papa, as you say, and quinoa and oca, and it was in this very, very difficult environment that they did that, and they built a civilization that the Aymara nation is heir to, that is very, very ancient and goes way back. Yeah. Yes. That's what I was investigating when I was there.
Exactly, because Aymara civilization, they lived, still live around the Lake Titicaca.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, they did, and they call kind of regions. They call it name in Omazuyos, and Laricaja, Pacajes, something like that. Still, they live right there, people, and growing up there. Still, they growing. The main agriculture is growing papas.
The papa,
oca, and quinoa.
And quinoa, that's the basic. There's others, and it's interesting to note too. They had to learn to treat the papa by creating what they call chuño. Exactly. Chuño is like a freeze-dried potato that will keep, and it'll keep for hundreds of years, we find from archaeological experience. And that was a way that made that become a staple food that gave security from the food quest and led to cultural development that had a culmination in Tiahuanaco, I would think. Tiahuanaco, classic period, maybe 400 or 500 BC. They had a civilization at Tiahuanaco on the southern shore of Lake Titicaca whose art rivaled the old world.
Exactly. Yep, because the chuño is dry and dry potatoes.
That's right. It's like freeze-dried potatoes.
Yeah. Exactly. Still the people in Aymara people eating and doing chuño.
Chuño, yeah. I had lots of chuño when I was in Bolivia. I mean, I had a lot of that because it was there. And then they also, if I could, just see, because you knew Ponce Sanginés. He was the leading archaeologist there. We became very good friends. And there had been, if I may, there had been, Wendell Bennett was an associate of Margaret Mead's, and it was an archaeologist, and we had no carbon dating.
Not yet.
before 1950. Realize things are changing so fast now in terms of science. We had no carbon dating until about 1950, but back in the 20s or 30s, he had discovered a unique culture from shards and from ceramic, unique to the earliest Tiahuanaco, because Tiahuanaco was over many thousand years as civilization. And the early Tiahuanaco, they had early Tiahuanaco, and then they had Tiahuanaco Clásico, and then they had what is called Tiahuanaco Expansivo. They built an empire from Titicaca, a foundational empire for the highland Andean area. And they extended their empire all the way to Venezuela.
Exactly.
So it was a foundational culture, much like Rome or something in terms of that, except it was, and they did that. But there was a culture that Wendell Bennett in the 20s found ceramic evidence below or more older than the earliest Tiahuanaco, and it was called Chiripa. And that was the name of a hacienda that was near the type site for Tiahuanaco. And they only had a few shards of that, and they couldn't date it. And they had a unique ceramic. And they finally dated it around 1956 with the new system of carbon dating. And it went back 2600 BC.
Before Christ.
Yeah, 2600 years BC, they had developed a culture that included housetops with double walls, and they had the beginning of a Neolithic culture developing there, 2600 BC, based upon chuño. And they would have the chuño between the walls, yeah.
Exactly.
And it was also so that's very, very ancient, and it's unique to them. They came upon that apparently independent of outside influence that would tell them that they could make agriculture that would give security from the food quest. And it was the fourth major development in the world that happened that way, that made civilization possible and makes that a cultural hearth of the highest significance in terms of understanding the evolution of the cultural development of the planet. And it was done in the right in front, and that Santiago de Huata Peninsula is the most likely site of the early Chiripa, pre-Tiahuanaco, where you were born.
Exactly.
So you come from an area of a rich cultural hearth like Ur was to the ancient Western world.
Exactly. The only one, we know there's a Tiahuanaco civilization. It's pretty much older. And they have a kind of similitude by the civilization in Guatemala. You know, there's all the archaeology.
You told me that. Something maybe I didn't know,
Yeah, there's all this there's, you know, the Tiahuanaco, they have temples and pyramids. Also, they have
the gateway to the sun.
Yes. They have La Puerta del Sol.
Puerta del Sol. Right.
That's the ones that the sun is glowing. This big monolith. Like a door.
Yes.
And they have a kind of similitude in Guatemala. That's
They do.
They do. Yes.
Similar in style.
In style, yes.
They have it dated.
Something like that. All these hieroglyphic signs in the
facade.
In the face is almost the same.
Oh, really? And is that dated in Guatemala?
Yes, it's the same date because it's almost the same. It's almost the same date.
That's very interesting to me. I hadn't known that. I've gotten off on other things and everything. I didn't know about that. Can you send me links to articles about that and so on? Because I want to catch up with it. You know? I don't know about that. I associate with Olmec and early Mayan and that sort of thing in Mesoamerica, but this is in Guatemala.
Yeah, Guatemala. Yeah.
Guatemala is very rich in its tradition. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's far away. You know, it's pretty much far away to Tiahuanaco to Guatemala.
Of course it is. Yeah, you know, but it is doable. They did get there. I mean, they migrated all the way down into what was South America, wandering and gathering peoples and that sort of thing. But then they built the civilization. And that Tiahuanaco is the furthest away from where we come originally, that went through from hunting and gathering to early agriculture to civilization to high civilization, and then finally to empire. And then it came apart as an empire around 100 years before Pizarro. And then the Wari, or the Inca, rose, and they extended their Quechua language and their culture over that area about 100 years before Pizarro landed on the shores and the Spanish conquest began, which changed everything more into the modern pattern. But this is foundational stuff that goes back thousands of years
ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it was there all in the doorstep of Achacachi, the town where you were born and where I spent time. So that's good. So that's very. We have a couple of other people who may be joining us from Bolivia, but our people. I wonder if the world is aware of that as a real cultural hearth to the degree that they ought to be from this very unique geographical setting. 12,500 feet, very on the edge, not a comfortable place, particularly from my standpoint. I got over Soroche or big motion sickness pretty quick.
Yeah,
it's really up very high. Yeah,
it is very high. It's, like you say, it's 12,000 high feet high. But the people right there, especially the Indian people right there, they used to live in because they have, I guess, a big herd or something like that. Because it's kind of it's like me, because I live up there. You know, I born right there.
I know.
It's for me living in the beginning. I live in by the sea level is a little in the beginning. It's a little hard, because I used to live in the high. That's it's same thing. The people that live in the soil level and sea level and go to the high is a little hard.
Right.
Yeah, because no, you don't have too much air.
Right.
And breathing is a little hard. All kind of stuff.
But the people who are born there get to where they're adjust to it. They've got good energy and they can walk for days and so forth. And they're used to that. The people that live there. So you can get used to that sort of thing. But the fact that it was such an unusual environment in which this major transformation occurred, the invention of agriculture. Unique, and I don't know, the thing in Guatemala is interesting to me. As I understood it, it was developed independently of outside influence, but it's a long time ago, so we don't know for sure. But that they developed that knowledge, rather than the idea that, a major transformation, we've been here 200,000 years, humanity. 10,000 generations, and most of that time we were hunting and gathering.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Neolithic happened maybe 10,000 years ago, when first they developed, they could make agriculture, and you get security from the food quest, and there could make cultural development. That's modern history.
Exactly. Because also they have, the people the Aymara people that live around the lake. They used to fishing too,
Oh yeah,
fishing and
in the lake.
In the lake,
yeah,
exactly.
Right.
They used to do it, and also they have they have acknowledge how to make the balls or the
balsa.
The balsa.
Yeah, right.
Because
they do the uro.
Urus, yeah.
Uru, it's still there. And they make reed boats.
Yes. Because reed-boat and by they call it the plants that are growing in the Lago Titicaca.
Yeah.
They call totora.
Right. And they're very knowledgeable of that.
Yes, exactly.
And that's where we met at the German embassy, because there's a fellow trying to make a reed boat to prove that there was pre-Columbian commerce across the mighty North Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Across the
And they're calling upon you as a Bolivian who has knowledge of the right reeds to make the boats, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To prove this kind of thing that they like Thor Heyerdahl did with from Malaya or from Malaysia and everything like that. It's very important. And then they had all of that development going on there. They also had very early step terracing down the mountainsides, and they had a step terracing, and they also had unique ways of doing the agriculture in the more modern period that was characteristic of that area from which you come. Maybe some of the terracing that is in Asia might well have been originated in Bolivia, possibly.
Possibly.
We don't know for sure, but that we do know that that was an area of unique transformation in the development of moving from the major transformation in human history has been the development of agriculture, domestication of animals that gave security from the food quest, which was hunting and gathering. And Bolivia is a major cultural hearth that went through that. And the Tiahuanaco extended its way. They never did have the wheel. The ancient civilizations of the Andes did not have the wheel.
No, they don't have it. We don't know exactly.
They say we came from Europe or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because we don't know that exactly. We don't know because we don't know because if you see that the big monoliths, you know, or the temples they have, all these rocks. The one they have is we don't know how they moved it, how they build in all these temples because there's pretty much temples, you know, and also how build the temples or the pyramids, all this stuff. We don't know exactly.
Are you talking now Egypt or something?
No,
you're talking in Tiahuanaco.
Tiahuanaco.
In Tiahuanaco, okay.
Tiahuanaco.
Yeah. They had the same thing with the Egyptian pharaohs and so forth.
Pharaoh, but we don't know how they moved, how they build it, how they. Because it's too heavy and it's a big monolith rocks.
Yeah, there's been a lot of research into that, a lot of interest in that, particularly for Egypt and for Mesopotamia, Iraq, all of that, because that's closer to European roots, so there's more interest in that. But there was this thing going on far away, all over on the other side of the world, in the highlands of Bolivia that was should be taken very careful note of, and is not noted nearly enough, and is the basis of a very rich cultural tradition of the Aymara people.
Exactly. Because if you see if you a little bit we go into Tiahuanaco, you know, Tiahuanaco civilization, the one they have the temples and the pyramid all up there, they have the port, you know, because we know Titicaca, the Lake Titicaca was close to Tiahuanaco.
Yes.
Pretty much close right there, because they have that's why they have port. They have port. They have like exactly modern port.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah. Well, I know there was a port on the south side of Santiago de Huacha Peninsula that had been a site for one of the Inca invasions.
Yeah, but
it was very sophisticated. The pillars were left from where there was a fort constructed by an Inca invasion.
Yeah, but
there's Inca ceramic all over Santiago de Huacha Peninsula.
Because we know there's Tiahuanaco is a little bit east side.
Yes.
You said that the Santiago de Huacha is a little bit more east side. And the lake is almost right. Lake is almost 15 or 20 miles from
Titicaca.
From the you know the Tiahuanaco's temple all kind of stuff. But in that times when the
lake was bigger,
the lake is bigger and close the temples on all pyramid side.
Yeah, it was also we found When you domesticate a new plant, Solanum tuberarium, I think is
yes, Solanum tuberarium, yes.
Is that how many different species now? I don't know, but the early ancestors, just like Aymara or emmer or einkorn in the wheat, they had to select out. Probably in that case, there were a lot of activity by the women within a tribe might well have been able to do that selecting that was really making the big change and domesticating. But they had to go through, and they were very susceptible in that phase when they went from, I think it was diploid to tetraploid chromosomic structure to what was a modern potato. There were tiny little buds that were on that had to be, and they had to select them out. And it was very susceptible to frost.
Okay.
Because in Altiplano, even during the growing season, the nighttime temperature is very near freezing. It's cold.
Exactly.
And so they would grow, like in California, they grow grapes up on the mountain because the frost falls much harder on the lowlands. Yeah. So they had little hilltops where they were, and Chiripa had that.
Yeah, they have it.
We found 14 sites with the Chiripa ceramic by looking at old fields. You get the picture of the Gemini satellite. They just did that from the sky. You could see the whole lake. It was a beautiful photograph. And we got three-dimensional photographs. There were two. You put them side by side, and you get a thing. You can see it three-dimensional. You can see the whole the Wata Peninsula, and you can see the mountains and the what do you call it?
The mountains. Yeah, they have it. Right.
Yeah, and you can see, and they had old field like in Europe in feudal times. They had the moldboard plow. It was very hard to plow very often because we didn't have steel, and you would have a great team of oxen in Europe, and they would have a moldboard plow with a huge number of people, and they would be pulling it with many oxen. They'd be pulling, and it creates what they call old field patterns. You see old field patterns that have been built into the environment that you can't see if you stand on the ground, but from the air you can see old field patterns. And it gave you that. And so in Bolivia they had that. And they had hilltops. They would be on hilltops. And they had a pattern, the Chiripa, pre-Tiahuanaco. They had ceramics, and they had there were like 14 houses that would be built around the top. There was a little ceremonial center at the center, and then the houses were uniformly double adobe. They were double walled, and there was much chuño found
in
the area between, and it gave that. But then the fields, and they had terraced pattern. It had a spiral terrace pattern, old field patterns you could see, and they would be on these hilltops, not right down on the level of the lake, and they would do it because because it would be a certain ecological safest zone. Particularly when they're developing from the old to the new, what was to become the papa that we're familiar with. It was very, what would be the word? Very small, the ecological safest zone, or an ecological niche where that could go. And that's where they were located, and that's how we were able to identify.
Yeah, that's right, because we know that, so far, we know they in Ashikachi all around this they have this almost 1,000 can of the potatoes or the papa.
1,000 now.
1,000 of the potatoes or the papa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because any kind of potatoes, the papas, because they have someone is pretty much someone is a little dark. Dark. Someone is a little blue color.
Right. I know. I remember.
Blue, yellow color.
Did you go to the market?
Yellow color.
Yeah.
And also someone is very much when you cooked it and eat it is kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Pretty much sweet. And popped it by itself. And all kind of variety in potatoes.
But the earliest came, and the precursor to that was widely spread throughout the New World. The precursors,
yeah.
They were just, and it took Richard McNeish did work in the Tiahuanaco Valley of Mexico on the domestication of maize, corn, and it took hundreds of years. And in the Tiahuanaco Valley, which bespeaks not somebody. I happened to study with a fellow, Carl Sawyer, the leading geographer, and he'd written a book, Agricultural Origins and Dispersals. Did the idea of agriculture occur to one people somewhere, and then those people migrate out carrying that idea to others? Or did it occur independently to hunting and gathering peoples in various places in the world? One of those, I think, was Bolivia. It happened independently of outside influence coming on. The thing about Guatemala, I want to run that down, see if there was contact or something like that. But they could do that, and then they've got all these different varieties, and the geographical means in which they were able to do that was making that a place where they went through. It was probably the second most important export to the world after corn was the potato. The potato went and was spread all over the world. It's now a staple all over the world. But more important than the gold and that kind of thing, as important as that was in its time, but was the corn. That was the new. I think the tomato was domesticated in the New World and brought to the world. But the potato is extremely important, and that's where it comes from. Exactly. And it was a rather long process by selecting out the wild ancestors to cultivate them to where they became a source of steady food source.
Exactly. It's like it's like the trick or the harvest. They come in from the old world in Europe or Asia. The papa and the maize and the corn is spread away from all the world.
Well, that's what we got. We got wheat and barley, and then we got rice, and then we got maize, and then we got the papa. The papa's not well enough understood as a major source. There's another, maybe the yam and the yucca.
Well,
that's
yucca.
another.
I don't know, but
African.
It's African. The papa is exactly the place that they're growing, and in places they want is the special season, cold season, not too cold.
It's always cold.
It's
always
cold, but they have seasons. They want the cold is come down, and they're growing up. But they have that's the way you say the technology how you growing in coldest time, because they have the Aymara people. They have the technology how they're growing in all year. All year. They produce papa.
But even in the warmest of the growing season, one determining factor is frost. And the frost falls harder on the plain.
Exactly.
So up the mountainside is a little ecological, and that's where the villages and the fields were located. They got a little hillside, in Santiago we have little hilltops. Not the big mountains, but the little hilltops. And it's 3.5 degrees 1,000 feet of lapse rate when you go up in the air. But and it's a little warmer. It's a little warmer than it is on the plain, and that's where these villages were located. We found 14 of them. And we went there, I remember the first time, we're looking for a piece of ceramic that's unique from Wendell Bennett from the 20s. Or the 30s when he found it. They had dated it. It was a pre-Tiahuanaco culture, signified by this ceramic. And I remember going, I think I had a pony, and I went to one of the hills there on Santiago, outside of Achacachi, and I went to this one that I had seen through the old field pattern, going back 1,000 years. You could see the old field pattern spiraling up the mountain, and they had these houses, and I knew what I was looking for. I was looking for a particular type of ceramic that was very rare. And I got up there, and I went there, the first one that I had identified, and you have a theory about where something's going to be, and usually that never works out. It doesn't work. But I remember going there. It was one of the happiest days of my life. I went up there, and I knew what I was looking for, and it was very rare. And I found Inca, and I found Tiahuanaco Expensivo and Classico, and that was there and everything. And then I found, and then they had, and it was littered, and it was a surface collection. It was littered, and it was with chiripa. And I took that chiripa, and I stood on that mountain, and it was corny. And I said, scream to the sky, Eureka! We had found that. And when I showed it, I identified it. I showed it to Ponce San Inés back in La Paz, and he was really impressed by the fact, and we identified 14 sites on that Santiago de Huata Peninsula with heavy accumulations of chiripa, pre-Tiahuanaco ceramic. And I think there's a good case could be made for Santiago de Huata Peninsula. The peninsula in front of where you were born was a cultural hearth of the highest significance in terms of the wider evolution of human culture.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, because
you think so too?
Yeah.
So we should realize that Aymara and Bolivia and Evo Morales and that culture goes way back. You should start thinking of it as like or Mesopotamia or something on that order or something like that.
Yeah, because we know it exactly because Evo Morales is close to not a lake Titicaca, it's another lake. Is the name is Lake Popo.
Yeah, Lake Popo. Yeah.
Yeah, Lake Popo.
Yeah, yeah.
He's around there, Evo Morales, because it's from Oruro. But it's just something close.
Well, that's a place there was a lot of mining, and you get down to the old planet, a lot of mining.
Exactly, a lot of mining.
Silver mining.
Tin mining.
Tin mining, yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Tin mining up there.
And they've been up there doing that. And that country, and then you have the Yuncas over to the east. You get down into Cochabamba and that. Yeah. That's a very. Now you're getting gas, natural gas, and there's other resources and everything.
Yeah, this is they have right now they have gas and natural gas sources in by Occident. They call Occident Orient side.
Orient side. Over toward Brazil.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Brazil.
And it's a rich country, and now you've got a political leadership that maybe can take into account the Aymara culture and take pride in the culture rather than the opposite of taking pride in the peoples that have been conquered. And so it might be a good story that is emerging out of the country of Bolivia in terms of realizing its cultural tradition and the importance of that culture and celebrating it. I lived among them for a long time. I have a very warm place in my heart for the Aymara people, having lived there.
Because still they speaking Aymara.
That's right.
The language Aymara, because most people, especially around the lake, they speak in Aymara.
I think so too, because you go to Puno, you go over into Peru and so forth.
Still, yes.
And the Quechua or the Inca tried to invade or tried to impose the Inca culture, and they couldn't do it in Bolivia because the Aymara culture was too firmly rooted. And there's remnants of that up as far as Venezuela.
Exactly.
Of that period of empire expansion,
Yeah, because the Incas conquered Aymara people, but they never conquered completely
the culture.
The culture.
Because the culture is too rooted.
Yeah, it was rooted. Yeah, exactly.
And it is interesting also that Evo Morales tends to be progressive in his politics. He's making common accord with Hugo Chavez.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it is Venezuela. Yeah,
and with some other, and there's a tendency in the modern politics toward a linking up of some of these people that are not are standing up to, if that's the right term, to the European domination, either from the United States or from anywhere else. That has been characteristic of most of the modern experience, and that may be good for the people.
Exactly, because
you feel that way, yeah. Okay,
I feel that way too. Yeah, and because Evo Morales and they have try, bring all the Indian people exactly like Aymara people, try to bring it to and participate in a Bolivian culture and political culture.
And the wider Latin American and world?
Yeah. First in America,
okay,
first in Bolivia,
right.
then after that, because this is only in Bolivia have like this kind of presidents, because we know even everywhere, especially in Latin America, Indians can go far away like maybe major, that's it, or maybe something like that,
You can
major,
go a
major,
Yeah, like instead of a general officer. Right.
General office. You can go far away because but in Bolivia they do right now because we know that Bolivia have more than 65% the Indian people there. But they try.
And it's well that be understood, the cultural roots of that. I lament the passing recently of a dear friend of mine named Vernon Bellicor. I don't know if you knew him. He was a Ojibwe, or I think it was Ojibwe, or he's Dakota, or Lakota, I think. And he was one of the founders of the American Indian movement. Because it wasn't only in Latin America that the Aboriginal American peoples were badly treated at the hands of Europeans, if I would suggest. It was also everywhere in the Americas. The Aboriginal people were badly treated by the Europeans. And so he said that we're going to make common effort between the Aboriginal peoples of the America, which would include very proudly the Aymara people of Bolivia, but also the Lakota and of North America. And you got some millions of people that are of that way and have not been well treated, and that there could be a real movement going. And Vernon got into trouble for being a little too rambunctious and so forth with the American Indian movement and doing a few things that got him in jail in protest against the way the Indian peoples were treated. I don't think anybody's been treated more badly than the Indians of the Americas, particularly even in the United States. We broke every treaty we ever made with them, stole their land and that sort of thing. They've been very badly treated, and maybe it's time that there be just retribution, not only for them, but for all the peoples of the world that have been badly treated by certain ruling groups that have sort of run things on a planetary scale for a long time. And Bolivia might be an inspiration to get some justice for the masses of the people that have not been so well treated since feudal times.
Exactly.
You think we're in a time of major transformation?
Like you say, it's not just for right now. It should be it's slow and takes time.
Yeah,
it takes time. It's still it gotta be. It's gotta be.
But we want justice, and we want it now. And,
it's gotta be now.
That sort of thing.
It takes time, but it's gotta be.
Yeah, and it may be because we have a new president now in the United States, and he's from a group that were brought here as slaves. Chattel slavery. You had Indian comienda, and in the plantations, and in the ruling of the countries of the Americas, you had essentially serfdom. And that kind of patterns and everything. And now we've elected a man who is a descendant, I guess not directly, but a descendant of peoples of black persuasion from Africa, Caribbean. There's another group, Brazil has. And they've been treated terribly over the long haul. And now we used to have chattel slavery in the United States. We had to fight a civil war. And then we had a civil rights thing. We had to have Martin X, Martin King, Malcolm X, and the civil, that. So now we have maybe there is a new, and then that goes for the people all over the world who have been oppressed or not given an opportunity. Maybe those kind of people are going to be able to give an opportunity to preserve their culture, celebrate their culture, rather than try to obliviate it, and to bring some elemental justice to a much wider scope of the human community than historically has been the case. Do you think that might be the promise?
Exactly. It's got to be. That's what I say. Morales has it's president almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
He was some kind of inspiration for another Indian people from all around America. even in North America.
Yes, yeah.
Because there's only one Indian people who could be be president, you know.
Yeah.
That's why one of the things everybody's putting their eyes right there, you know, by the president.
It's hard. It's hard to make change.
It's
and there's
hard.
a lot of backsliding goes on.
Exactly.
It's always hard and everything. But there is some promise maybe in the time that you and I talk that the rich tradition of Bolivia will be given a place that it deserves based upon the Aboriginal culture rather than only that which had been imposed upon them.
Exactly.
Okay, and so we only touched the surface of this, and two of your colleagues were going to come. Who were they weren't able to make it? Luis Calderon?
No, Luis Mendoza.
Luis Mendoza and
Isaac
Calderon.
Yeah.
One of them was born, I think, in Achacachi.
Achacachi, yes, Isaac.
Sorry they couldn't join us. Maybe on another occasion they can.
Maybe,
and what we can do is, next time we do it, let's think to do another program and do it, and we'll bring in some film and so forth of Bolivia.
Okay,
sort of
we
thing.
got to talk to all the Bolivia, because Bolivia is not just the India Aymara people.
No, I know that. I know.
You know exactly. No?
Yeah.
This time it was just only we come in and talk to Aymara people, but Bolivia is very much bigger, and we got to talk about.
But 65%.
Yeah, 65%.
That's a lot.
But it's not
and
just.
They were very isolated.
Yeah,
you know, Bolivia was isolated, interior of the continent. So
exactly.
you know. Yeah.
But it's not just the Aymara people or Aymara Indians also, because they have Bolivia. They have almost 36 ethnic Indian people.
Oh, you 36. Do? Oh, there's others other than the Aymara. I see. Yeah, in the Chiapas and
like the Chiapas, like the Incas, like the Guaranis, all the
Guarani, Urus. There.
It's all the ancient.
I think the Uru are the better.
Urus are ancients too.
They're better with the tortilla.
That's Urus. Yeah,
they're the ones who should be advising those people trying to get across the Atlantic Ocean with a reed boat.
Maybe that's.
I think they know. They know if I remember right.
Exactly, but that's what it is, you know. But in this conversation, just I bring Aymara people.
Yeah. Well, the Aymara, and he is Aymara, and we have the flag. I think, as I understand, that goes way back. It's a very handsome flag. I think I've seen things that are similar to it in other ancient cultures.
You know, just a little bit more of what I was spoken, because
we only have a minute left.
If we have the Aymara people there, they in the colonial times, you know, they imposed their Catholic religion. You know,
yes,
they have,
of course.
There was a religion, but besides that, they have the religion they call let me see, they call
you got to go to your notes, huh?
Yeah, I got to go my notes.
Oh, we got pictures we didn't get a chance to show. It's too late. I don't know. Maybe we can show quick. Maybe if you can come in while we're going, you can take us out over the graphics and come in on these pictures. There's a few pictures. These are photographs. This is just a taste of what we're going to do on future programs with video footage and that sort of thing. But this is here, and I think we may have run out of time, but show this. But what did they call them? You get it from the note?
Yeah, they call it, a pagan religion.
These are the alpaca and the llama that are so characteristic of this area. And then I want to find that one of you. Where's that one of you? You have one of you when you were a young guapo.
This is the Lake Titicaca.
Where's the one of you?
Lake they're making the balsa. Remember, that's the one.
Oh, no. Here's Lake Titicaca. Where's the one of you? You showed me before. Can you get it? We probably won't get it in on time. We'll get it in on the YouTube version. Okay. You tape for a little while after.
Hey, I guess that's the.
It's over.
Okay.
It's over.
Okay, it's over. We ran out. Okay, so that's the end, and we ran out of time. Yes, it's gone 58 minutes, and we'll have to do it again. Right?
Yeah.
And we'll have to get some film and everything like that.
Okay, I think that's time we were doing better.